Hey friends, Ash here with Gents. Hope you're doing well. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys about office fragrances, but a little bit of a different style of office fragrance. So usually when you say an office fragrance, you're going to think about stuff like Prada L'Homme or Prada Luna Rosa or Prada whatever. Prada. You're going to think about Prada. You know, typically that fresh stuff, clean stuff, a little bit classy. That's what people think of with office fragrances. But that's not all that you can wear to the office. And today we're going to be talking about sweet fragrances, warm fragrances, maybe even somebody would say sexy fragrances that you can wear to the office. Let's jump into it. This is going to be one of those things where my opinion might differ a little bit from yours. I think that you can generally wear most of whatever you want, wherever you want. You should just understand the fragrance that you're wearing and understand who you're going to be around as to know whether, yeah, that's safe or, nah, that's probably not a good idea. And also you should know how strong it is so you know how many sprays to spray. Well, basically what I'm saying is there are a lot of fragrances that you wouldn't immediately think of as office scents that you can absolutely pull off in the office. Just don't be a putz. Don't be a Momo. Don't grab Ultramall, spray it 25 times, and then be surprised when it doesn't work out for you. What do you mean? That I smell offensive. This is a good fragrance. But you sprayed it 25 times. All that out of the way. Let's finally jump into it. First fragrance I want to talk to you guys about. Pure HAVANE by Mugler. This was actually an office staple of mine for years in the fall and the winter time. Absolutely love the stuff. It did wonderfully for me in the office, and by wonderfully I mean nobody ever complained and I got some compliments. That's pretty good. It's got tobacco, it has honey, it's got cacao, it's got patchouli in here as well, which kind of ties it in with the original Amen. This one is a sweet honeyed pipe tobacco. That is the simplest way to break it down, and it smells so appealing. It's not offensive at all. It's got good performance, but not bruising performance where it's going to crush the souls of everyone around you. That's important. I think in the office, you don't want something that strong, not apocalyptically strong. If you're going with something that's really beast mode, I would hit myself with one, maybe two sprays. But again, you know better than me how your situation is, so I trust you. So yeah, Pure HAVANE. This one was a staple of mine for a long time. Absolutely love the stuff. Unfortunately, it's a little more expensive nowadays than it used to be. I mean, it's never been super cheap, but you can find it from discounters for, $70-ish. Nowadays, it goes for more. Up next, Boss Bottled Intense by Hugo Boss. Apple, cinnamon, and vanilla, some of the notes in this fragrance. This is a really cozy type of scent. Again, a sexy type of scent. It takes Boss Bottled and improves upon it. Gives it more richness, gives it more sweetness from that vanilla, but maintains that kind of cinnamon apple pie vibe that so many people like. And this one has gotten a good amount of hype over the years. It's been kind of like a slow burn for the hype. You know, when this came out, it didn't immediately set the world on fire, but as more people smelled it, more people checked it out, more people thought, man, that's a good boss. And so it's kind of ramped up popularity a little bit over the years as more people have discovered it, and it's maintained that popularity. So it's one of those fragrances that I wouldn't say is really under the radar because it's part of Boss Bottled and everybody and their mom knows about Boss Bottled, but Boss Bottled Intense pulls it off super well. And I'd also probably throw something like Boss Bottled Oud in here as well because I like that one so much, but I'm not going to do that. I'll just give it a mention. I didn't think about that beforehand. Boss Bottled Oud, check that out too. It's like Boss Bottled, hear me out, with the cinnamon and the apple, but got a little oud. I mean, sure, there's some other differences, but that's really about what it is, and it's really good. Let's keep it moving. Now we're going to go with a classy fragrance, and you can tell it's classy just by looking at the bottle. L'Envol de Cartier from Cartier. And as classy as this bottle looks, I hate it so much. I prefer the other style of bottle that this fragrance comes in because you have this thin outer glass that sits over top of the bottle. So while it looks really cool and almost like a little museum piece or something, I always worry that this is gonna get dinged and I'm gonna have just a shattered piece of glass around this bottle that's just kind of hanging there awkwardly. So far it hasn't broken though, so doing good. And it's got a kind of a cool atomizer thing. It's almost like the Terre d'Hermes atomizer, but better because it's metal. This one's got honey, iris, guaiac wood, and musk as some of the notes in the fragrance. And this one took some time to grow on me. When I first got this in, it was brand spanking new, just out on the market. And I gave myself a spray and I thought, that kind of sucks. I was hyped and then I was disappointed. But then actually, I think a year or more later, I went back to the fragrance and I thought, maybe I wrote that off too soon because I really did only wear it 1.5 times. You know, I didn't even give it a full 2 wearings before I passed judgment on it. So I went back to it, sprayed it on my hand, you know, gave it a little smell and thought, what was I thinking? This is actually really, really good. Like I said before, you've got this great honeyed iris in there. It smells fantastic. Going to appeal more probably to guys middle-aged and older because it doesn't have as much of that, you know, bubblegummy, really syrupy sweetness that a lot of younger guys like. This one really is surprisingly attention-grabbing, great informal type situations. So this is gonna be more of your business office type fragrance. I really do suggest, if at all possible, try this out. And if at all possible, avoid this bottle type because paranoia. Next up is from Barbados, and it's actually part of the Nick Jonas collaboration. JVXNJ Crimson. The Nick Jonas collaboration fragrances don't have the best rap in the fragrance community, you could say, but this one, Crimson, is pretty nice. This is my favorite of the bunch, and I actually don't mind it a bit. This one has plum, coffee, saffron suede, and apple as some of the notes in the fragrance, and while it's maybe not as unique as you might think looking at that note breakdown, because you would see that and be like, man, that's got leather and plum and saffron and coffee, all this stuff, man, that's a lot going on there. Even though it's maybe not as unique as you might hope, it still smells really good. And it actually does work better than some of the other fragrances in this list as far as just being super versatile because it retains this sort of familiarity to it, we'll say, with some other modern fragrances nowadays. It's like it has this warmth and this sweetness, but at the same time, it's got this modern freshness to it, which makes it really easy to pull off. I actually think it's a surprisingly good fragrance, even though, like I said, some people are gonna hate on it because it's got the name Nick Jonas on there. But if you take away the Nick Jonas and you just say this was released by Barbados, people would probably give it a lot more love than they do, at least as far as the fragrance community is concerned. Also, I like the bottle. I could do without this little charm because it just ends up dinging my bottle and scuffing it up every time I pick the fragrance up, but I still like it. I might just throw that away actually. The charm, not the fragrance. I'm not gonna throw that away. Last, but definitely not least, this one is a real love of mine, has been since it came out, and I would say that love has only intensified over the years. It's Code Absolu from Giorgio Armani. Vanilla, tonka suede, and green mandarin, some of the notes in the fragrance. Now, a lot of people are gonna think of this more as a night out fragrance, and that's because it is. But you can also pull this off in the office. The Code DNA is tried and tested as far as being people pleasing and compliment pulling and all that stuff. I mean, all you have to do is look at how many different flankers are out in the Armani Code line, and that should tell you all you need to know about how well this sells. The reason it sells that well, because people like it. Pretty simple. So you've already got that DNA built in here. Then you've got that sweetness like you're gonna find in Armani Code Profumo, but reined in a little bit, made a little bit smoother. It's not quite as loud as Profumo. It doesn't project as hard as Profumo, which makes it a little bit better for office use than Profumo would be. Sure, you probably don't want to go really heavy with it, because again, it's a big night out fragrance, you know, date nights or just on the town or whatever. So you don't want to go overwhelmingly heavy with the sprays. You don't want to come across like a bro who's on the prowl when you're making photocopies. Or maybe you do. If that's your thing, then absolutely wear it out, man. Who cares? Good for you. But like every other fragrance in this list, Code Absolu absolutely can be pulled off in the office. I should have said that differently. Code Absolu can absolutely be pulled off in the office. Oh, that's terrible. That joke. Oh. There we go. 5 fragrances. They're warm, they're spicy, they're sweet, they're sexy. That you can pull off in the office, just as well as something like Prada L'Homme. Well, maybe not as easily as something like Prada L'Homme, but if you give it any thought whatsoever, easily you can pull these off. Let me know in the comments, what are some fragrances that you wear to work that maybe people would say, hey, that's not a good office fragrance. You gotta tell those people, shut up, man. I can wear whatever I want, whenever I want, within reason. All right, that's gonna do it for me. Thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for all your support. Stay safe out there, guys, and I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you later.